guys, and welcome to another episode of Pod Leaders. Thank you for joining us. So, we are trying to give back a little bit to the community that we've built over a long time now. We're building around, well, we've got around 21,000 followers now across the Thornton Gregory landscape. So that's really, really exciting. And I wanted to get a few of our leaders of industry in to have a chat with everyone and give a little bit more intel into their backgrounds and just a few wider questions as well. So we are starting with James Hocking, who is a very lovely and very long-term colleague and friend of mine. We first started working together at Avis many, many moons ago. Can we believe it? Nearly 11 years ago. And then he transitioned into Sage and had a few very lovely jobs there, very big, powerful jobs. One with a bit of I have to get the cryptic title correct, Director of Advanced Analytics, which will lead us on to some of our subjects that we're going to cover today. But I just wanted James to give a little bit of a summary of himself, and then I can tell you a little bit more about what we're going to speak about. So, James, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm James Hocking. I've got, 25 years, probably a little bit longer. I graduated in the mid-90s from university, studied computers. I got into computers because at a very young age, age of 6, believe it or not, my twin and I, my parents had their own business, didn't know what to do with us, so they bought us a computer. And this is pre-PC. So we learned to program at the age of 6, and it's pre-games. We had to write our own games and things like that. And it just stuck. It was one of those things that, if I go to a party, I'll bore people to death and talk about all techie, nerdy stuff. So for me, it was kind of natural from university. I went into computers, got into data and things like that. Joined Hewlett Packard. I was there for 16 years. In different roles, got very close into digital marketing and e-commerce. So at its peak, for example, I was the architect for Hewlett Packard global e-commerce, doing 16 billion revenue through that platform. And then from there, I moved into other roles for Royal Mail, worked in logistics for a bit, then into Avis, the travel where you and I met, of course.
Absolutely.
Back into the technology business around 2016.
Yeah.
And in that journey, I've always wanted to learn new stuff. So then ultimately that led me to advanced analytics and AI. And that one actually was rekindling because back at university, that's when I first did neural networks and AI. I did that at university, went on a 15-year pause and then started up again.
I had no idea it was that. It was, not to intimate that you have any age behind you at all, James, but I didn't realise it had been going, it had been like in the planning stages for so long. That's so interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
AI's been with us, depending where you start and end, but at least the 60s, I would say.
Wow. Okay, cool. Let's dig into that a little bit more. Well, I dug out a few facts this morning. So the market growth predicted within AI between 2023 and 2030 is 40% year on year, which is unbelievable. And AI is expected to create 133 million new jobs, which I just think is fantastic. A lot of people are a bit nervous about what AI is bringing to the table, but I think just it's a change as opposed to a replacement. And it's going to contribute $15 trillion to the global economy over its time. So I think only positive things are coming within that. But that brings us on to our first question. And the reason I wanted to bring James on in the first place is because obviously as a tech recruiter, I'm coming across this all the time, AI, ML, buzzwordy stuff constantly. I would like a really simple breakdown of what AI is and the different facets within it. Please, James, could you help us understand what we're dealing with? Thank you.
I'll do my best. I think the way I try to describe it to people, I think it is layers or layers of an onion without being facetious. So at the very top, you've got artificial intelligence, AI, and its kind of goal is to be creative, to learn, and to do reasoning. But when you come the next level down, you then get into machine learning, ML, and its job is you have something called an algorithm, which is a formula like you would have done at school.
Mm-hmm.
And its job is to create something called a model. And it solves a very specific problem. Now, before I go any further, AI does two things. It's very good at patterns, identifying patterns, and more recently, identifying sequences.
Okay.
And I'll touch on that in a second. And everyone, believe it or not, AI, it's such a nebulous term, but everyone who went to school and did mathematics at pre-GCSE level would
Mm-hmm.
understand the mathematics behind AI. So linear algebra. So
Okay.
if you remember those columns and rows and those
Yeah.
matrices,
Yeah.
add and subtract things, that is the very core of every piece of AI that we do today.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy when you kind of say you did, because everyone does matrices.
Yeah.
So if you put
Absolutely.
it that way, it then becomes less scary. Um,
Absolutely.
when you go beyond machine learning, the next level down or the next layer is something called deep learning.
Yeah.
And there's different facets of deep learning. But this is where we started to try to model the brain, but again, using these matrices. So if you imagine all those neurons in your brain and how they connect together,
Mm-hmm.
and you have an input, you're going to go through some stages of decision making, then you'll have an output. That's deep learning.
Okay.
And then you get to where we are today with generative AI, or ChatGPT, as most people know about it,
Mm.
which is the next evolution again. Still works like the deep learning.
Mm.
The only difference is deep learning didn't have a memory. And
Okay.
what I mean by that is that when you uh, deep learning, let's say you had a photograph of a cat. Deep learning would divide that picture, that photograph, into portions, and it would then look for parts of the cat. It could be the eye, it could be the ear, the mouth. And then after it says, yes, I've seen all the bits that look like a cat, I think it's a cat. But it wouldn't remember any association between an ear and a mouth. All it would know is that, yes, I've looked for an ear, I found an ear, so I'm going to say yes, tick to that
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to the end, it would add up all the ticks and says, well, clearly I've got enough ticks to say that it's a cat.
Okay.
But it won't have any memory of what it's done. ChatGPT, in 2017, when they came up, Google came up with this. They found a way to get it to remember, so that when it detected an ear and something else was detecting another ear or the mouth, it already remembered that it had found an ear. So then, if you remember what you've already discovered, how you interpret the mouth becomes more accurate. So
Mm.
this is why when you're having a chat with ChatGPT, it can come up with what seems like a very sensible answer, because the context has been remembered, where before that we didn't have context.
Fine.
So that's kind of the run through.
Yeah.
Now, the very last bit is something they called artificial general intelligence, and we're not there yet. And
Okay.
this is probably the more Hollywood side, where the technology has reached the level where it's matched how we think and perceive the world as people.
Okay.
But at the moment, we're not. So we're still building models that solve very specific problems,
Yeah.
such as and generative AI takes it a little bit further, because it can interpret text and video and sound,
Mm-hmm.
but it can't reason.
Okay.
It's unless you tell it exactly what to do. It has no experience. It has no domain expertise.
Mm.
It has to be guided incredibly well.
Okay.
Where for people who are listening, if I asked you, what do you think of the weather's like in Saudi Arabia today?
Mm.
You might not have looked at the weather, but you think, well, Saudi Arabia is quite hot, so
Yeah.
it's probably quite hot. So
Yeah.
you've reasoned that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So that's artificial general intelligence. But at the moment, we're not there.
Where
So
it's
yeah,
muscle memory. Okay.
but that's probably like
Okay.
the both brain dump of what AI
No,
is.
I love that. I love that, and it it's easy to understand, and
Yeah,
it makes it not scary. So that's good.
yeah,
Okay, good. And obviously, there has been, I mean, there's endless application to the world as we know it, whether it be personal or within the business world. Um, you've been involved in this in a professional capacity for a number of years. So and this may actually bring us on to Hocking Digital in a little way, a little bit earlier than we expected. But one of our first conversations, which I found so amazing, was around how to actually use that ChatGPT to the best of our advantage, and ask it questions and answers and a number of different things. So, how do you think AI is being applied generally to business? I know that's such a broad question, but if you can just give us an overview of some applications, perhaps.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question because depending where you look in the world,
Mm,
the actually adoption of AI is still quite in its infancy.
yeah.
So, for example, here in the UK, there's only, according to Accenture, and this is a survey about a year ago, only 15% of business had actually really put AI to use.
Hmm.
If you go over to Silicon Valley, there's higher adoption, but if you go to other parts of the US, for example, it's still very low, like us. And I think the just to digress briefly, I think the reason is people still, what is it? There's lots of people saying what it is, but is that what it really is? And they all conflict. And then when you look at your own business, it's I can't see how I would apply it. And what's the return on investment on that? And if I apply that resource, will I have to hire enormous amounts of talent just to maintain it? And
Absolutely.
the example I tend to give to people is like the early '90s when the spreadsheet came along.
Yeah.
And again, without sounding facetious, it was almost a step change on how we still did the same jobs, but now we had a tool that could probably expedite certain aspects of our role that freed us up to do other things. And I think AI is the same. So I think companies that the projects I've worked on have been a lot of proof of concepts, a
Mm,
lot of testing the water.
mm,
What I try to advise people, because we kind of meet with charities, we meet with small business, and we've even got like a Fortune 100 customer who they're investing in AI, but probably not getting the traction, or they're facing a lot of friction. So what we try to do is take people back and say, well, what are you doing right now as a business? So what processes do you have? So if you have a CRM, what processes have you built around that? Your sales funnel, the top of funnel, the bottom of funnel. Are you able to see what's going on? Do you have revenue leakage, for example? At the bottom of the funnel, are you succeeding to get customers as the first time customer, but not succeeding to get them as repeat customers?
mm.
Those are the types of problems that AI is very good at tackling, as long as you keep in mind that AI is good at looking for patterns.
Yeah. Okay,
Um,
fine. So it's on
so
historical data.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So and then generative AI is very good at sequences. So if you gave it a sequence, such as and they call it a context, but if you gave it a sentence and then you say, "Can you finish this sentence for me?" Such as like a CV. Let's say you wanted to write your CV.
Yeah.
If you say, "This is my CV as it is right now. Can you make it better?" it it can take that input and give an output. So if you imagine that being applied to your business, let's say from your sales funnel, at the bottom of the funnel you're dealing with loyalty.
Mm.
You've got information that will help you categorize who's a good customer, who's a one-time customer. I shouldn't say good customer, everyone's a good customer, but
Of course.
who's a one-time customer from who's showing signs of being a repeat
And
customer.
repeat. Yeah.
And then what was it about the repeat customer and their engagement with you that led them to be a repeat customer? That information can be fed into generative AI to help you create personalized copy that may help additional people switch from being one-time customer to repeat business customer.
That's so cool. That is
Yeah,
data-oriented marketing analytics, just like
yeah.
brilliant.
But
Okay.
you need that domain. But to people thinking, hang on, it's going to replace my job, it really won't.
Yeah.
Because unless you actually know digital marketing, unless you have that domain expertise and that experience, ChatGPT doesn't know. All it knows is that if you can tell it that here are the inputs of what a repeat customer looks like with a high lifetime value,
Yeah.
it can then suggest that this could be the ad copy for a personalized advert to a group that is a one-time customer
Yeah.
that may be the sweet spot to convert them into a repeat. And it's good at that. So it's helping you to be better at the things that may be holding you back, but
Absolutely.
it's not replacing you. It's probably the way to think about it.
So absolutely fantastic application to the marketing
Yeah,
side and building out that sales funnel and helping build business.
yeah,
That is absolutely bang on. So a lot of people have had some nervousness around security aspects within that data side, and perhaps the security side within, opening up a CRM or database to something that is a little bit unknown can be a little bit scary. And it can be seen as one of the pitfalls in AI. How do we go about talking around that?
I think the wonderful thing is, I think the main vendors are very cognizant of this, because I must admit, I'm on LinkedIn every day and I post and I read and stuff like that.
Me too.
And I see people giving advice on, hey, look, you could do this. You get a carousel, and here's 10 steps and you could be AI.
Yeah.
And whilst it's good advice, it doesn't touch on the cybersecurity. And I think if you've never worked in that kind of corporate setting or things, you might not be cognizant of this knowledge. But the thing with OpenAI, for example, or Google, the public service where you can just sign in and chat, these are public services. And so by their very nature, these vendors are saying, look, these are public services. Anything you put there is in the public domain.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take a PDF or a PowerPoint that is confidential, you need to think twice before you hand it over.
Yeah.
But all these vendors are cognizant that people still want this technology. And so Microsoft, Google, Amazon, to name a few, not to be, just to be selective, they're all creating these services where you can now do private.
Okay.
And to give you an example, this is where open source community is massive. There's an open source kind of domain called Hugging Face, believe it or not. It's literally Hugging Face. And they are these big central kind of nexus of people who are creating additional generative AI technology that you can use privately and with relatively low barrier to entry. You can implement these tools. And there's a certain technical side, but if you went back 5 years when I got into generative AI, that was really rolling up the sleeves and pulling the engine to bits.
Yeah.
Now there's companies there's one called writer.com, who they have a very good solution. I'm not an affiliate for them, but they have a good solution that's on package. There's open source tools called LangChain or Chainlit, for example. And what they're all trying to do is make it as simple as possible for people to create their own private generative AI capability, deploy it either on premise or in their own private cloud.
Yeah.
But then also make sure that these tools can connect to any data that you've got. So regardless of what database it might be in, or it might be in documents, if it's like in your OneDrive or SharePoint or Dropbox, it will use it all, but it does it privately.
Yeah.
So you can do this. I think the cybersource challenge is more, the cybersecurity, challenge is more about educating your colleagues that yes, the tool is there. Please don't put our confidential information there. We're information technology or whoever within a company, it will be on that journey to provide the capability.
Absolutely. So perhaps some of the cloud-based products and things, could be a little bit, more aligned with a more corporate strategy than anything in the public forum. So that's good. That's good. So we've done some applications. I know this is such like a light touch on this subject, but we've done some current applications. We've gone through a couple of the pitfalls there. Where do you see the next steps for AI? I mean, do you have your crystal ball? I don't know, but
I've got thoughts.
Where do you see us going with this?
I think there's two sides to it. I think there's two parallel journeys. So most people, what I find, uh, everyone actually uses AI every day. Anyone with a smartphone is using AI, and I don't mean generative AI. Google and Apple, for example, whenever you use the Photos app,
Oh yeah,
the reason why, if let's say you want a photo of your children in the park, just type in park.
yeah,
They have used AI to pre-categorize all your photos to work out which ones look like a picture of a park.
it's amazing.
And that's been there for years.
I remember you talking
Anyone,
about this. I had no idea it was there.
yeah,
Yeah,
but I think that that's an important point. And the same, if you've got an Alexa or something like that at
yeah,
home, Alexa, that is AI.
yeah.
That's an example of deep learning. So when people think, and if I go back to what I said earlier, deep learning doesn't remember, but generative AI does remember. So this is why Alexa is very good. You can ask it commands, and it sounds very intelligent, but it really didn't remember a word you said
Well,
2 seconds ago.
reassuring.
Yeah. So and so the so you've AI is around us all the time. We just take it for granted.
Yeah.
And I think one path will be that it will. The narrative right now is all about AI.
Mm,
Wherever you go, so it's difficult. It's easy to think that you're missing out, but at the same time, it's then to be overwhelmed. You almost get kind of worn out by it. I think if I take you back to the spreadsheet analogy,
mm.
that was like it was in the 90s, but now no one talks about spreadsheets, but they're there all the time.
Yeah, it's a given.
And I think that's what's going to happen in the next couple of years.
Absolutely.
Now, technology wise, Google announced this week that a generative AI technology will be released within their phone next year.
Mm.
So 2025, you will have that. And I think for businesses, from an SEO perspective, top of funnel SEO, we put a lot of effort in trying to get that organic reach because we want to minimize our paid kind of advertising.
Yeah.
But I think what will happen is that next year, as we get these and we already know that I think it's about 65% of web traffic is all coming from the mobile device. So
Yeah, I've been reading that about
yeah,
LinkedIn and job adverts and things like that. Yeah.
yeah. And about 2 years ago, Google said any website that doesn't have a mobile version, they will go down the priority list. So people spend all this effort, and then this year people are talking about topographic kind of semantic SEO, because now people are tired of the how do I do this, how do I do that. I want to find who's that domain expert who can answer this question.
Yeah.
Now carry forward to 2025 with AI, and you're now going to have generative AI on your phone. Apple, I would be gobsmacked if they didn't reciprocate what Google are doing.
Absolutely.
You now will talk to your phone, and it will be able to talk back to you in a way that Siri, for example, doesn't do today. Because Siri is an example of like Alexa. You talk to it, it executes the action, but now you'll be able to have a discussion and refine what you want, and then it will go off and get it. So people will have to start doing voice optimized SEO on their
Wow.
websites.
Okay, cool.
And how you structure your website will be geared towards that sound point. And I think that's when we will start seeing people will start talking with their phone, it will interact with the phone, and they will forget that it's AI, even though it's AI driving it.
Yeah, it's just
And I think,
that's what phones do now. Yeah.
yeah. And I think for business, when it comes to AI, you could pretty much apply AI to any process
Mm.
and try. AI doesn't necessarily make things better. It may release the burden, or it will. What I tell people is says AI is not going to make your process better, but you could automate part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you've got an amazing process, it will keep it amazing, but it will free up you to focus on something else. And this will be the same. I think what will happen is that as people interact with their phones, I think customer satisfaction and how you support your customer will become more prevalent, because
Mhm.
people will, instead of trying to interact with like a chat bot on Facebook Messenger in order to work out why your food delivery isn't on time,
Yeah.
you now have an opportunity to say, well, actually, I can AI can interact with more data sources at once to try and resolve the problem.
Yeah.
And I think this is what we'll see is the experience economy and the engagement economy will become more important. Sorry, I'm doing what I always
No.
do. I jump all over the place. So what I'm trying to say is AI will give us the ability to focus on the customer. It will allow technology to service the customer in a way that the customer wants to be served.
Okay.
So there used to be that case where people say, I want to buy a hammer. No, you don't want to buy a hammer, you want to buy a nail. No, I don't want a nail. I want a hole in the wall so I can hang a picture. Well, actually, I don't want the picture. I want a really nice room to sit in.
Okay. So go back.
Or, you know, and or to take it another way, like a birthday. So we've got like a 4-year-old, her birthday's coming up. You don't want to have to go to 20 different places to organize the birthday. You just want the birthday to happen
Yeah.
and have that experience. And I think this is from a customer service bottom of funnel loyalty perspective. This is where AI has the opportunity to excel, because you're going to have phones where people can talk. And that means the phone can get the most salient information that's needed before it comes back to an operator in a customer support role.
Yeah.
And so that discussion that happens today, people get furious typing away on ChatGPT,
Yeah.
or not ChatGPT. They get furious talking about on a
And
chatbot,
chatbots with
and they go, "You're just not hearing what I'm trying to say."
yeah.
Well, the generative AI can get through that. So when it comes to an agent, the agent will now be positioned to actually give exactly what the customer needs,
Absolutely. So it's not
whether it's servicing, selling an experience, or it's dealing with an issue it's causing quite an emotive response.
yeah.
But to you and for a business, it's you and now it means that you can almost offload and allow your specialists, your domain expertise in customer service,
To
to
cut.
deal with the really heavy stuff.
Absolutely. So you're not wasting,
Yeah,
you're maximizing
yeah,
the
yeah,
productivity of the skill
yeah,
set that you have. Brilliant.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Sorry, yeah.
I love it.
Sorry, I love this topic and
I
I will
love
talk
the
forever.
passion. The
So you have to
passion is
stop me.
everything. The passion is everything. And this is a really great segue for us
Yeah.
to introduce what you're doing at the moment, James, because although I so appreciate all of the background within AI, James is working as a specialist consultant in this field, right? So you go and well, I'll let James explain it because it's just an absolutely brilliant business. So do you want to just tell us
Thank
a
you.
little bit about it?
Yes. So uh, there's my wife and I have started a business that we've been running for a number of months now, called Hocking Digital. So is Hocking. We're she's like the business brains and I'm the technology brains, and we focus on our collective experiences. We've worked for like Fortune 100, 500 companies, FTSE 100 companies, charities, startups, and our experiences cover. So I think our strengths is that we cover a lot of domains and are able to stitch them together. So in my career, for example, I've worked heavily in AI, but I've also been an enterprise architect. I've worked heavily in data. I've worked heavily in software engineering. Like I said, I've been writing software since I was 6.
Yeah, brilliant.
Worked in, the full
You know, the
MarTech
nuts and bolts of it.
tech
Yeah.
stack. So what we feel is that is AI, there's so much information being thrown out there that how do you help someone tease it apart? So we decided to create a consultancy where we could help people one-to-one on short-term engagements. So that could be as short as half an hour or an hour and a half, and help either themselves, their team, or their board get up to speed and then start looking for opportunities. What are the pitfalls? We touched on some. I mean, I didn't even begin to talk about change management and culture, which I find to be probably one of the biggest. And we then help people develop their first use cases, and we kind of always encourage people to start small. I saw one of your other videos. The lady was talking, the travel lady, the woman from the travel business was
Very
talking about
helpful.
digital transformation. And I think everyone has had experience of digital transformation, and 10 years on, we're still digitally transforming.
Yeah.
And it's what we want. well, we started our business on a way, how do we help people avoid the 10-year, 15-year transformation?
Yeah.
Because AI isn't something that we need to be afraid of. It's something we can start small. And so we wanted to show people that, your existing process, how could I use AI there? If I'm not getting visibility in my sales funnel, how can I use AI there? If I want to engage loyalty, and that's an important part of my business I'm losing out on, could AI help me there? So that we had that. The next thing was to then take it a little bit further and help people. Maybe they needed something once a month. So some of our customers, I join a meeting every 2 weeks, and I'd be that subject matter expert. These people are AI people. They're not data scientists, but they are marketing people in AI, and they're how do they accelerate to the result that they're looking
Yeah.
for, rather than come up with pitfalls. And the thing with AI, it's unfortunately, it's the quality of your data, even how you train a model. It's very easy to get to a place where the model, it looks like it's giving you what you want, but it's actually only good at one thing.
Yeah.
So how do you help people through that, and without them, having a suboptimal, impact on their customers, for example?
Absolutely.
And then the last thing we started doing is that if people they want someone to stay with them for like a month on site, then we've started doing that as well.
Brilliant. Okay, just to
Because
really handhold that integration.
yeah,
Okay.
but absolutely, but our skill is not to is to we pitch at the level that people are at.
Yeah.
So if they're data scientists, we'll engage at the data science level.
Yeah.
But what we're finding is AI has matured. Certainly, my experience, AI has matured to the bit where, again, forgive me for overcooking the spreadsheet analogy. It's it's no longer about how does the spreadsheet work underneath. It's more about how do I get my team to use it effectively to get what I want.
And the
And
application
so
of it. Yeah.
our consultancy is geared at that level
Yeah.
predominantly. We can go up, we can come down,
Yeah.
but it's how can I use this tool to solve the challenges that I might be facing.
I think the flexibility here is the main point, right? The flexibility and the application of the knowledge and the understanding of the field is just, it's astounding. So I think it can be applied to, as you say, to huge corporates and to startups, just to really analyze the processes that they've got internally at the moment and how you can streamline those and make it easier and better, to be able to get the SMEs involved and focus on the human side on what we're good at.
Yeah. To give you one use case with one of my customers, what we're doing right now is we're showing them how to capture data from their funnel.
Great.
Not just web analytics, but wherever the customer is touching them, so predominantly from their CRM, segment the customer, which is machine learning. But then once I understand the attributes that differentiate each customer segment, we then feed that into generative AI in order to deliver copy that is best used to personalize to that.
Okay.
So you then kind of have that full circle.
Yeah.
And then also at the end, how do you test what you've put out there to make sure, is it resonating? Is it not resonating? If it is, awesome. If it isn't, where do I need to adjust? And you then end up with this flywheel, and it almost becomes self-perpetuating at that
And
point.
so difficult to get ROI in marketing.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Done. Tick. Is it working or not? Brilliant.
Yeah.
The Oracle marketing. Like, is this actually going to build our business? Perfect. That's what we need. Amazing. Oh, James, thank you so much for breaking AI down. I honestly, that's brilliant. If everybody can put 45 minutes of their day into investing in their knowledge in AI, this is it. That's amazing. To round us off, I just want to throw a few questions at you, James, not to scare you, but they're completely random questions, and it's just so everybody can get to know you a little bit more. So, are you actually an iPhone or an Android user?
I'm Android,
You're an Android.
but I do get iPhone. I understand why I like iPhone too,
Yeah,
but I predominantly Android.
amazing. Do you drink coffee or tea?
Tea.
Tea.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to be a tea drinker. Okay. Dogs or cats?
Oh, cats.
Cat.
Yeah.
Me too. Amazing.
Grew up with dogs, but we've got a great cat at the moment.
Amazing.
So
Good. And would you rather be in the restaurant or in the disco?
a restaurant.
All the time, yeah.
Oh,
What,
yeah, sorry, no doubt.
what's your favourite food?
I love Polish food.
Ah,
It's also yeah, Polish duck is amazing.
incredible. Good. Favourite place for a holiday?
Oh, Tuscany.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
cool.
it's wonderful.
And final one, God forbid the house was burning down. What would be the thing that you grabbed before you ran out?
Oh, my wife and daughter. Yeah,
Do you know, it's surprising how many people don't answer
yeah.
that. So,
It's
great.
like everything else is replaceable. I can't replace them.
Everything
So.
for a family is absolutely right, James. Well, thank you so much for running through that with us today. James is obviously running things with Hocking Digital. They're a brilliant consultancy. Everybody should go and speak to them if they're looking into AI and how it can affect their own businesses. So brilliant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the opportunity.